Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has hidden unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure, or admire an old one. What will we find today? Let's dig in. Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
Do you sometimes feel like you're on an island of righteousness in the middle of an ocean of wickedness? Maybe at work, you're the only believer. Or in your family, you're the only one who will even go to church. Or in your group of friends, you're the only one who wants to talk about spiritual things. If so, you'll understand a little of how Noah felt. When the Lord looked down on the earth, this is what he saw. It's in Genesis 6, 5-7. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he'd made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heaven, for I am sorry I made them. Everyone, everything was black with evil, corruption, and wickedness. And this made the Lord very sorrowful. But there was one little glimmer, kind of like finding a speck of glitter on a dark carpet, reflecting the light from above. It was God's friend Noah, the one and only man on earth who loved God. Noah walked with God, probably not the same way as Adam walked with God in the garden, but they had a close relationship. What would it look like today to walk with God? Estimates are that it took Noah about 70 years to build the ark. So between the time God told him to build it and the time the flood came, Noah was preparing for something totally unprecedented in his world, completely by faith, because God told him to do it. Hebrews 11:7 says, By faith, Noah, being divinely warned of things not yet seen, with godly fear, prepared an ark for the saving of his household. And by this he condemned the world and became heir to the righteousness that comes by faith. 70 years is a long time. In our time, it's about a lifetime. Of course, they lived a lot longer back then, but still. Every stroke of the saw, every whack of the hammer, had to have been an act of faith that must have seemed incredibly foolish to his neighbors. Noah was a righteous, blameless man, the Bible says. Did the people around him respect him for his devotion to God? Or did they ridicule him as a foolish old man with a huge do-it-yourself project in his backyard? How many days did Noah go to work saying to God, This seems so foolish, but because you say so, I'll do it. 70 years. Wow. Noah was walking with God. So every nail, or, every wooden peg, was an act of faith. Every board put in place by an act of faith. He raised his sons while he was preparing the ark for his family, so they would have grown up seeing Noah's faith firsthand, watching him walk with God, helping him build the ark. How do we walk with God each day? What are we doing by faith? Well, what is your calling? What has God called you to do? I had a hard time with housework, especially the dreaded chore of washing dishes, until I realized that because my calling from God was to stay home and teach my children and keep my house clean, each swipe of the plate is part of walking with God just as much as teaching my kids how to read. Each meal I cook is an act of faith just as much as planning a field trip. Each scrub of the shower, well, I don't think I've ever quite gotten there on that whole shower cleaning thing yet, but you get the idea. Maybe for you, it's paperwork that you do at the office, or working with short-tempered people, or answering the same questions over and over. Whatever fulfills the calling that God puts on your life is an action of faith, and a way that you can be walking with God, just as much as hammering those boards was an act of faith for Noah. But how often do we take that for granted, thinking we're not doing anything for God's kingdom, and we don't give those things our all? Or maybe we do them with a bad attitude, or just to get it done. But thinking about the tedious, mundane things as walking with God, as part of our calling to be done by faith, can put a different perspective on things. You might not end up with a 300 cubic ark in your backyard, but you will get a "well done, my good and faithful servant" when you get to heaven. I'd love to hear about your calling. Right now, this is mine, doing this podcast. If you'd like to support this ministry, let me know. You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com and check out our new website. You can find the address in the description below. I'm Carla Early, and thanks for listening. And remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.